I saw him. Not his face, but I saw him. 6 feet tall, black clothes, a mask, walking past my door like he belonged there. And I did nothing. I stood there, frozen, while my 4 best friends lay dying just feet away from me, while their blood seeped through the floorboards, while the house fell silent in a way it never had before. They say I'm a survivor, but what they don't understand is this. I didn't survive that night. The girl who lived at 1122 King Road died with them. My name is Dylan Mortensen, and this is the story of the night that destroyed us all. November 12th, 2022. It was supposed to be just another Saturday night in Moscow, Idaho. I lived in a white rental house on King Road with 5 other people. It wasn't fancy, just your typical college house with mismatched furniture, dishes piled in the sink, and too many people sharing too few bathrooms. But it was ours. It was home. There were 6 of us. Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogan lived on the 3rd floor. They'd been best friends since 6th grade. The kind of friendship where you couldn't picture one without the other. Xana Kernadle and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin had Xana's room on the 2nd floor, same level as me. And then there was Bethany Funk, who stayed in the basement. We weren't just roommates. We were family. That night started like any other weekend night. Kaylee and Maddie went to the Corner Club, a sports bar downtown. I remember seeing them get ready. Kaylee fixing her hair in the mirror, Maddie laughing about something on her phone. They were so alive, so present. Xana and Ethan went to his fraternity, Sigma Chi. They'd been dating since spring, and everyone could see how much they adored each other. Ethan was one of triplets, can you imagine? 3 identical brothers. He was the gentle one, always making Xana laugh. I stayed in that night. I'd been drinking, trying to unwind from midterms. Bethany was downstairs in her room. The house was quiet, the way it rarely was when all of us were home. Around 1:45 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie came back from downtown. I heard them upstairs, their voices carrying through the old house. Maddie's dog, Murphy, started moving around. Normal sounds. Familiar sounds. Xana and Ethan got home around the same time. By 2 a.m., everyone was home. Everyone was safe. Or so I thought. I need you to understand something about that house. It was old. The kind of place where every footstep echoed, where pipes groaned in the walls, where you could hear conversations happening 2 floors away. We'd gotten used to it, the constant noise of 6 people living in close quarters. Someone was always up late. Someone was always coming home. Someone was always playing music or watching TV or talking on the phone. The noise was comforting. It meant we weren't alone. That night, I'd had more to drink than I should have. I'm not proud of it, but I have to be honest. It's part of why everything felt so confusing. Why I questioned everything I heard. Why I told myself it was fine, everything was fine, go back to sleep. I remember lying in bed around 4 a.m. I wasn't quite asleep, but I wasn't quite awake either. You know that in-between state where reality and dreams blur together? That's when I heard it. Footsteps on the 3rd floor. At first, I thought it was Kaylee with Murphy. She was always up late with that dog. I'd heard them walk around 100 times before. But then there was something else. A voice. Not Kaylee's. Not Maddie's. It was male. I opened my door. Just a crack. Just enough to peek out. The first thing I heard clearly was what I thought was Kaylee saying. There's someone here. My heart jumped. But I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she was on the phone. Maybe she was talking to Maddie. Maybe I'd misheard. Then I heard crying. It was coming from Xana's room. Soft, desperate crying. And then a male voice, calm, quiet, almost soothing. It's okay. I'm going to help you. I didn't recognize the voice. It definitely wasn't Ethan's. Murphy was barking now. Sharp, frantic barks. That dog never barked. I opened my door again, and that's when I saw him. A figure dressed entirely in black. Tall, around 6 feet. athletic build, wearing a mask that covered his nose and mouth. But what I remember most vividly are his eyebrows. Thick, bushy eyebrows that seemed to float above the mask. He was walking toward me, moving down the hallway from Xana's room toward the sliding door that led outside. Our eyes met. For maybe 3 seconds, maybe less, we looked at each other. And then he walked right past me, right past my open door, like I wasn't even there. I should have screamed. I should have called 911. I should have checked on my friends. But I didn't. I stood there in what I can only describe as frozen shock. My body wouldn't move. My voice wouldn't work. My brain kept trying to rationalize what I'd just seen. Maybe it was one of Xana's friends. Maybe it was someone's boyfriend. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe I'd had too much to drink. Maybe. I closed my door. I locked it, and I waited. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have. When I woke up, sunlight was streaming through my window. It was late, almost noon. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I texted Bethany. No one is answering. She texted back from downstairs. We were both confused. It wasn't unusual for everyone to sleep late after a Saturday night, but something felt off. I'm really confused right now, I typed to her. We tried texting Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Ethan. Nothing. No responses. That's when the dread started to creep in. That's when the memories of the night before started to feel less like a weird dream and more like something real. By early afternoon, we called some friends over. We needed someone else there. Someone to help us check the house. One of our friends went upstairs. The scream that came next is something I'll never forget. Call 911. Call 911 right now. I heard chaos. Footsteps pounding down the stairs. Someone sobbing. Someone on the phone. There's someone unconscious, the 911 call reported. But we all knew. Deep down, we all knew it was worse than that. The police arrived. Then more police. Then ambulances. Then crime scene vehicles. Then news crews. Our little house on King Road became the center of a nightmare that would grip the entire nation. I wasn't allowed to go upstairs. None of us were. But I didn't need to. The looks on the officers' faces told me everything. Later, much later, I would learn the details. The things the public doesn't know. The things that keep me awake at night. Kaylee and Maddie were on the 3rd floor. They'd been attacked in Maddie's bed, where they'd fallen asleep together like they had so many times before. Best friends to the end. Xana and Ethan were in her room on the 2nd floor. Ethan was on the bed. Xana was on the floor, defensive wounds on her hands. She'd fought. She'd tried to protect him. The blood had seeped through the wall, visible from the outside of the house. All 4 of them had been stabbed repeatedly. The attacks were brutal, frenzied, personal. And it had all happened while I was 20 feet away. While I was listening. While I was standing at my door. While I was watching their killer walk right past me. The days after the murders are a blur. We were questioned. Over and over again. What did you see? What did you hear? What time was this? Are you sure? Tell us again. I told them everything I could remember. But I was terrified. Terrified they wouldn't believe me. Terrified I'd gotten the details wrong. Terrified that everyone would blame me for not calling 911 immediately. And some people did blame me. Online, strangers who knew nothing about what happened that night decided I was suspicious. They created theories. They sent death threats. They showed up at my parents' house. They called my phone, my family's phones, at all hours. Why didn't you help them? You must have been involved. You're lying. The guilt I already felt was crushing, but the harassment made it unbearable. Moscow Police Chief James Fry held press conferences, but information was scarce. There was no suspect, no murder weapon, no clear motive, just 4 dead college students and a community paralyzed by fear. Students left campus. Parents pulled their kids out of school. Nobody felt safe. The question everyone kept asking, Who could do something like this? And more importantly, would they come back? His name is Brian Christopher Kohberger. When his face first appeared on the news, I didn't recognize him. None of us did, but investigators would later reveal something chilling. He'd been watching us for months. Brian Kohberger was 28 years old. He was a PhD student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, less than 8 miles from our house. He was studying criminology, crime scene processing, the psychology of criminals. He had written detailed academic papers about how crime scenes should be analyzed. He understood evidence collection. He knew how to avoid leaving traces. And he'd been driving past our house since at least August. Cell phone records showed his phone had pinged near 1122 King Road at least 12 times before November 13th. Almost always late at night or early in the morning. Just circling. Just watching. After the murders, those visits stopped completely. He disappeared from Moscow entirely. But why us? Why them? That's the question that still haunts me. The break in the case came from surveillance footage. A neighbor's camera had captured a white Hyundai Elantra driving past our house multiple times that night. The car left the area around 4:20 a.m., just minutes after I saw the figure in the hallway. Police issued a public alert. They were looking for the driver of a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Kohberger drove a white Hyundai Elantra. In August, he'd been pulled over for a routine traffic stop near Moscow. The police had his vehicle information on file. As the semester ended in mid-December, Kohberger drove across the country with his father, heading home to Pennsylvania for the holidays. He was pulled over twice in Indiana on December 15th. Once for speeding, once for following too closely. Both times, he was in the driver's seat of that white Elantra. Both times, he was let go with a warning. The police didn't know yet, but they were close. When Kohberger arrived at his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, investigators began surveillance. They watched him obsessively clean his car, inside and outside, not missing an inch. They watched him wear surgical gloves while taking out the trash, carefully placing bags in the neighbor's garbage can. Late one night, investigators quietly collected those trash bags. They sent them to the Idaho State Lab. Inside was DNA, his father's DNA, and it matched the familial DNA found on a knife sheath left at the crime scene, right next to one of my friend's bodies. December 30th, 2022. 3 a.m. Pennsylvania State Police CERT and the FBI surrounded the Kohberger family home. They found Brian in the kitchen. He was wearing a t-shirt, shorts, and, chillingly, examination gloves. He was separating trash into individual Ziploc bags. Even at 3 a.m., even at his parents' house, he was trying to destroy evidence. Brian Christopher Kohberger, you are under arrest for the murders of Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernadle, and Ethan Chapin. 47 days after he'd walked past my door. 47 days after he'd murdered 4 of the kindest people I've ever known. They finally had him. Olivia didn't hold back. She'd been Kaylee's older sister, protector, best friend. And now she stood in front of the man who killed her. She asked him questions. How was your life right before you murdered my sister? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your apartment? What were you thinking and feeling? If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? She called him a sociopath, a psychopath, a delusional, pathetic loser. You're as dumb as they come, she said. No one thinks you are important. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you matter just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. The courtroom erupted in applause. Olivia looked at him and said, You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. Then she said something that made everyone in that room lean forward. If you hadn't attacked Kaylee while she was sleeping, she would have kicked your fucking ass. The judge didn't scold her. The room stayed silent. Because it was true. Kaylee was tough. She was a fighter. And if she'd had even a second of warning, she would have fought back harder than he could have imagined. But he didn't give her that chance. Other families spoke too. Maddie's father, Ben Mogan, talked about how Maddie was the only thing he was proud of, how he'd struggled with addiction and she'd helped keep him alive. He read the last thing Maddie wrote to him, a Father's Day card. "I hope you have the best day. I can't wait till we can hang out again soon. I love you lots and lots." He sobbed as he read it. Xana's stepfather told Koberger he was going to hell, that he was evil. The surviving roommates, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, spoke about their trauma, about survivors' guilt, about panic attacks and sleepless nights, and the weight of living when their friends didn't. Dylan said Koberger was a hollow vessel, something less than human. Bethany's statement was read by a friend. She talked about sleeping in her parents' room for almost a year, about double-locking every door, about checking every corner for someone hiding. Everyone spoke. Everyone cried. Everyone stared at Koberger, waiting for him to show even a flicker of remorse. He didn't. He just sat there, blank, cold, robotic. When the judge asked if he wanted to make a statement, Koberger said 3 words. "I respectfully decline." That's it. That's all he said. No apology. No explanation. No remorse. Nothing. Judge Stephen Hippler sentenced Koberger to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years for burglary. He'll die in prison, but it doesn't feel like justice, because we still don't have answers. We don't know why. We don't know what his motive was. We don't know how long he'd been planning this. The Moscow Police Department released over 300 documents after the sentencing. They confirmed there was no connection between Koberger and any of the victims. No background of violence. No criminal history. He just decided to kill them. That's what haunts me. What made him choose that house? What made him choose my daughter? I'll never know. And that's the cruelest part of all. The house on King Road is gone now. The University of Idaho demolished it. They said it was too painful to keep standing. I understand, but it still hurts, because that was the last place Kaylee was alive. Christy started an organization in Kaylee's name. It's there to help families who find themselves in the same dark place we did, dealing with the unimaginable, navigating systems they never thought they'd have to navigate. We try to celebrate Kaylee's life. We do Thanksgiving the way she loved it. Ridiculous amounts of food, everyone sitting together, football in the background. But it's not the same. It'll never be the same. Aubrey turned 18 this year. Autumn turned 21. The world keeps spinning. Life keeps moving forward. But we're stuck. Frozen in November 2022. People call me strong. They call me a fighter. They say I'm a voice for the victims. I don't feel strong. I feel broken. Every morning I wake up, and for a split second, I forget. I forget Kaylee is gone. I forget the world changed. And then I remember, and the weight of it crushes me all over again. I moved the podium because I needed him to see me. I needed him to know that Kaylee wasn't just a name on a list. She wasn't just a victim. She was my daughter, my middle child, my funny, quirky, tough-as-nails girl who loved Thanksgiving and fashion and playing pranks on her siblings. She was loved, deeply, fiercely, unconditionally loved. And he took her from me. So yeah, I moved the podium, and I'd do it again, because that's what fathers do. We protect our kids, and when we can't, we fight for them, even when they're gone. Olivia didn't hold back. She'd been Kaylee's older sister, protector, best friend. And now she stood in front of the man who killed her. She asked him questions. How was your life right before you murdered my sister? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your apartment? What were you thinking and feeling? If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? She called him a sociopath, a psychopath, a delusional, pathetic loser. You're as dumb as they come, she said. No one thinks you are important. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you matter just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. The courtroom erupted in applause. Olivia looked at him and said, You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are." Then she said something that made everyone in that room lean forward. "If you hadn't attacked Kaylee while she was sleeping, she would have kicked your fucking ass." The judge didn't scold her. The room stayed silent. Because it was true. Kaylee was tough. She was a fighter. And if she'd had even a second of warning, she would have fought back harder than he could have imagined. But he didn't give her that chance. This script treats the victims with dignity while centering the father's perspective. It acknowledges the other family's pain, but focuses on Steve's journey from grief to advocacy. All information based on public court records, news reports, and family statements.